We're good. Welcome to Hand of the Seeker. I'm Jim. I'm here with Paul today. We're just going to have open discussion about all kinds of stuff. I'd first like to start with occult practice and the spiritual path. I believe occult practice is a spiritual path. That's my background on that. I don't want to get into how I started and all that. I've already done that. But Paul, what do you think?
It's a big aspect of a spiritual path for me. It's not doesn't define it. There's more to it than just the occult, but it came later after getting into Buddhism and meditation and mindfulness and even psychology. So yeah, the occult just kind of is where it went after that. And there's a lot of aspects to it that are good for psychology, for your own psychology, for what you do with your energy, if you believe in things like that. So yeah, it's a very strong aspect of spiritual.
Yeah, and I feel the same way.
Still need to expand.
I know. I believe occult practice does help find yourself. It does bring you knowledge. I don't adhere to black and white magic because I just believe they're all the same. I think that's why I practice ritual magic, because if you do the history of rune magic, they didn't consider any entities demonic or good. They could do both, depending on their personality. I mean, that's like us. We have our own personalities. I believe these entities have their own personalities too.
I mean, everything's a mix.
Yeah, if they want to talk to you, they're going to talk to you. If they don't want to talk to you, they're not going to talk to you. And I don't think if you do any kind of like summoning ritual and something doesn't speak to you or you don't feel a presence, I don't really believe it was your fault. Maybe they just didn't feel like speaking to you at that point.
I think ritual in particular is a cool aspect of the occult because it's so broad in its application. Like there's a banishing ritual which you can do for nothing more than just finding peace within yourself and being relaxed. Or you can use it as the start of a ritual if you're in the right headspace to actually go forward and do the ritual. And then rituals themselves can be as elaborate as the ones you've talked about, where you spend the Abramelin. I'm probably not pronouncing it right.
Ceremonial magic. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Some of it can last like what's the one with the Abramelin? What's the name?
The Abramelin.
Yeah, that's the one where it takes months and months and months.
18 months. Yeah, that's the newest rendition of it is 18 months.
And a shorter ritual for me would be like my altar, where I light my candle, I do 3 vows, I state what I state, and I'm done. And that is very powerful and evocative within itself too. Everything in between. So ritual is pretty important when it comes to occult practice, I think, and just life in general.
Well, yeah, well, rituals, I mean, they're involved with religion too. I mean, they have their own rituals, and like Catholicism has their own rituals, Christianity has their own rituals, and so on and so forth. I mean, ritual practice and doesn't have to be,
It almost seems to be part of being a human, if not just an animal.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, like when I shave my head every other day, to me, that's a ritual. Right. Like a ritual practice. Call me weird, but
I guess you can go off into the weeds with what a word means too. So yeah.
Well, yeah, we're all talking about words and labels, which that I don't want to get into that.
It's a problem with overthinking, I think.
That's a whole different discussion.
To me, that in itself can be a problem with the occult and anything else. Is just overthinking in general. Like even with my ritual, I did a significant one that comes to mind. I'm not really talking about it in great length, but one thing that I remember was important was not overthinking. Was like when I do it and I'm completed, I don't go back the next day and think like, well, did I do this right? Did I do that right? When's it's gonna happen? It's more to like thinking in particular is valuable and good, but it can fuck things up if you hold on to it. It's a tool, and it shouldn't be calling the shots any more than your ego should or anything else. My 2 cents.
Well, I believe the same way, because if you're going to do a ritual and you dwell on it, I don't think it's probably going to work as well as you wanted it to work. It's kind of like you do your thing, you set out your energy and let it go.
You might even sabotage it later on.
You
might. You might like hold on to this reality, like, well, I know it's not going to work, and then it's not. You fucking make that happen, I think, to a great degree.
Yeah, that's why you have to have that certain headspace before you do a ritual. Like me, before I do any ritual, I go through like a series of like building up to the ritual via meditation, clearing my mind out, getting my body nice and calm and all that. You got to get in that space where you're not worrying about this, that, and the other. And oh, did I say the right thing? Because it really doesn't matter.
Right.
You know,
It
in the
does.
practice, it really doesn't matter.
And some things that do matter are negative self-talk too. Like, again, this is kind of a mixture of like psychology, and it could be even a cult or just energy work or spirituality, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But like people who spend a lot of time worrying, you're like saying this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen, or oh, with me. I think it's not just psychology. I think they're actually kind of in a way casting spells. You're actually like setting your life up for more suffering because you're convinced it's going to be happening, and you continue to speak of it and say it, and give energy to it by one of those things. It can. I mean, I think destructive psychology can cast a spell as a fast way of saying it, I guess.
Oh yeah, I understand. But negativity will be pretty much ruin everything you're trying to do.
And the inverse is positivity. If you believe in yourself, or if you're grateful or things like that, I think that can bring a certain energy to your life as well.
Right.
It's not as cut and dry as it sounds. I mean, there's more to it than just happy thoughts, obviously, but it's definitely a big part of it. I mean, it all ties together organically. You're not going to have those happy thoughts if you feel like shit, obviously, if you're like attached to it. So it all kind of ties together.
Yeah, it certainly does. And going into it, I think you need to. It's not being all. It's not about being all positive and not negative. I mean, because you always have both of those correlating together. But
yeah, to me, I can't be positive without acknowledging the negative. I can't be happy without acknowledging the suck.
Right, and we all have those days where we just want to get up and watch the world burn. Like fuck it, I have those days.
It's burning whether we like it or not.
So there you go. I mean, okay, so that would be our I guess both our concepts on
Basically a cult in our lives and a small touching on ritual.
So I don't know. Let's see. What should we veer off into next? Oh, here's a fascinating subject. I'm not sure how much you know about it. Goetic magic.
Isn't that something to do with angels or something?
Goetic magic. This is funny.
No, I don't. I don't know much about it.
Have you read the Key of Solomon?
I looked through it and read parts of it. I found it interesting.
That's
I didn't read it from start to finish. No.
That's Goetic magic, or Scotia, Goetic magic.
Right.
I always found this fascinating because I've read several texts that mention Goetic magic, and they all try to say it's black magic, which again I don't adhere to. But I find it funny because Goetic magic actually comes from King Solomon in the Bible and the 70 demons first temple in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
The whole story there. But they consider it black magic. Even like recently the book I read, The History of Magic by Eliphas Levi.
Well, when did they consider it black magic? At what point? Like the Romans with the Council of Nicaea?
I don't know what point because, well, I know
at some point they didn't, obviously.
Eliphas Levi wrote back in the 1800s. So
Yeah.
we're talking a while ago, and he considers Goetic magic black magic. And so does Arthur Edward Wade, which has translated all his texts.
Why did he consider it black magic?
I don't know. Because, again, it comes from King Solomon in the Bible, and Goetic magic is ceremonial magic, and before you invoke your supposed dark entities, you have to invoke their light entities for protection.
Yeah.
So why consider this black magic when it's really not black? Because black magic to me is you're just summoning Lucifer.
They could just be judgmental and closed-minded. I mean, they could just be saying it's black magic because it's not like the official church doctrine of the day.
Right.
They
I get that too. But
dismissing it like modern-day Christians dismiss pagans. Yeah.
This kind of seems like everybody talks about Goetic magic as black magic, and it's not black magic. If you
are you sacrificing babies doing it?
No, there's no.
Yeah, so
there's no there's not even any like Lucifer or Satan in Goetic magic.
It's closed-mindedness. Sounds like closed-mindedness. I don't know enough about it to really say. I mean, maybe there's some aspects of it that are really dark, but it sounds like closed-mindedness.
Right. But yeah, I find that fascinating too. But that's me. I read those old grimoires and stuff and find it fascinating. But then again, there's no history. You can't get the real history behind grimoires because if you're looking at, especially ancient grimoires, there's newer grimoires too, but the ancient ones, you can't settle on an author or a date publication or a translation or any of that stuff. So to me, trying to practice something out of a grimoire is probably like a waste of time, really. Because if you translate one word wrong in a grimoire,
to me,
not gonna be good.
To me, if it really resonates with something that can be, then that's good enough for me. And that could be an occult ritual on the back of a basically Joe gum wrapper, which I would never find. But the point is, if it resonates as true, that's the way it's going to be. or not. And it's not true, and like I came to that conclusion intellectually either. It's hard to explain that, but I think you might know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not just thoughts.
Well, yeah, I think if
So
like,
my point of saying that though is like, if you want to rely on a ritual and you want to have verbatim how originally was, you're right. You're probably not going to get that unless you're lucky and you find an original and you know how to speak the ancient language. So just kind of get the energetic feel for what the ritual's about. I don't know, but I like with the things like goetic magic though. I don't know a lot about it, but I think if there are awakened beings that have their own expectations, and then they might want you to do the ritual exactly how it's supposed to be because they have their own views too. So you might not get in touch with those demons or angels or whatever if you're not honoring whatever it is that they want you to honor. So it can get complex like that too when you're dealing with other awakened beings because I think, like even on the image on my wall, the awakened beings at different levels, they're there too. Although I would like to think that many of them are probably more patient than most people, but many of them may not be. So who knows?
yeah, you really don't know. It depends on what you're dealing with.
I think it does. It really
Yeah.
does.
And that comes with research, I think. Well, as much research as you can get, because half the time you hit a brick wall anyway. But it's all about belief and energy. And I think if you were to actually do like a verbatim ritual from a grimoire, if you had the respect and the energy to do it, I think you would probably accomplish it anyway, at some degree, even
Yeah.
if
At
was
least
mistranslated.
I think you're right. You would at least be heard if nothing else. I'm sure.
Right, because to me, magic comes from you anyway. It's all your energy
Yeah.
and your perspective and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter what some book says. I mean, they're great to read and they're fascinating. The mystery surrounding them is awesome.
And they're great for finding direction, if nothing else.
Yeah, and it gives you a bit of history. So that's always cool to have that background.
Yeah, I think that's why I shouldn't say always. It's kind of more of a new thing, but I've been leaning towards chaos magic for a long time because it's less rigid, obviously, and that's the biggest glaring thing about it. It's less rigid. There's hardly any structure except what you put into it.
Well, hell, let's talk about chaos magic then.
Okay.
All right, so go. You've read more than I have. I only read the one book. So,
Well, the appeal for me, like I was saying, was the openness of it. Like, my spirituality is a combination of Christianity, science, fucking like black and white science, Indian spirituality, Buddhism, obviously, Western stuff, Eastern stuff, things like that. It's a mixture of different things. And so my cult practice, when I started looking into it, was Native American spirituality and different things, and they're all kind of coming together to be a mixture of different stuff, just like my spirituality. So chaos magic is that. Chaos magic is at its heart what it's supposed to be about. Whatever resonates with you and make it so, because you are a unique being in the sense that you bring your own unique energy to this world. So it's not necessarily going to be you're born to be in the order of the Golden Dawn, leading a ritual with Enochian magic memorized and everything else. Your path might be a little different. And some people would dismiss it probably because it lacks some rigidity, but the thing is, it doesn't, because the the most significant research ritual I did was very rigid. I mean, it involved psychological self-discipline, it involved designing the ritual itself, and it involved a lot of stuff, and it took about a half year to do. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't just like, hey, this is a feel ritual done. There's more to it. So it can be whatever you want it to be. Is what I guess I'm trying to say. Chaos magic could be sloppy and maybe ineffective if that's who you are, but it doesn't have to be.
So do you believe that chaos magic is basically do what you will and toss out the rigidity?
It's a label. It's a label to describe a system that doesn't really have a long history of rigid structure. It doesn't. Beyond that, what you do with it is what you do with it. I mean, again, I'm very disciplined in how I approach it, and somebody may not be, and they might say, "Well, I'm a chaos magician." That's the problem with labels, is it can fit a lot of different things, especially something like chaos magic, would obviously fit a lot of different things. So, open to interpretation. What was your question, though? I guess I didn't even really answer the question.
Kind of, but
Okay.
well, what I've read from chaos magic, what I think about it is basically, as a magician, if you're actually going to practice chaos magic, you kind of you ultimately make it your own. You do what you want. You figure out what works and doesn't work for you as an individual.
Sure.
That's my concept of chaos magic.
That fits. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel about it, but I've only read one text. Some people would think that chaos magic, just from the title of chaos magic, is just like, I guess, anarchy magic, which I don't think it's that.
No, I mean,
You know,
from chaos comes order. I mean, that's
Right.
that's like basic science stuff. So it's just like it really kind of encompasses what it is. It's taking everything and something comes from it. The magic.
yeah, and I've said this before. I think when you first start getting into a ritual practice or occult practice, you kind of are a chaos magician because you're kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't work for you.
We're a chaos human
So-
until we say we have a structure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and to follow, you know, if you want to follow one path from like the various branches of the occult tree, you can. But again, I don't feel that I do that. I mean, my base is in room ritual magic, but I've done other stuff too, and I think you kind of like incorporate things to figure out what works.
Right.
And you can take different branches from the occult tree and incorporate them, mix them together. It's basically like that metaphor where the witch's cauldron, you're throwing in all that stuff, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like
They
that.
make
To
it
me,
good
that's
stew.
what it's, yeah. You make what you, it comes from you, so you make it your own.
Mhm.
And if you're not making it your own, you're not following your personality, I don't really think it's going to work like you want it to work.
I've had the most success in doing it with this approach. So I can, and I don't like labels, but if I had to,
Well,
Put
I
it
don't
in
think
one.
anybody likes labels in this.
yeah.
If you're a serious occult practitioner, I don't think any of us like
But
labels.
if I had to choose one, I would say a cult.
Yeah.
I mean, not a cult, chaos.
Yeah,
Because that seems to fit the most.
right.
I would even, if I want to be more wordy, I'd say like chaos with Buddhist leanings. But it's just, they're just words. I mean,
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
the end result is the end result, and what you do with it and what you experience with it is that. So summing it up with one word anyway is bullish.
So for you little kids out there practicing occult, stop labeling stuff. It's weird.
Yeah, it's not just weird, but it can also limit your thinking. Because if you really stick to like a label, you're not going to think outside that label. And if you respect a label, you can still look outside that label. Yeah, words.
So, okay.
Nothing here.
Well, there's something else. What are you going to talk about?
I say we can end it here.
You want to end it here?
Yeah.
You want to get into Enochian magic? Or
No, I like him to be
more of Abramelin? which I think
short.
is-
Short.
Okay, man. We'll end it here. All right. See you guys next time. Keep seeking and do good works. Peace. Goodbye.
Thank you all. See.